Welcome to Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. And in the honor and spirit of back to school, we're going to have a lot of discussions about things that are happening at the schools. Really excited that the high school principal and superintendent of our school systems are with me. We're going to talk fireworks with Rich Mahoney, which also is very fun and exciting. Talk about that coming up in the fall. But before we do all that good stuff, we're going to chat with Mayor Scott Galvin. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, Samantha.
So we have the Blues Festival coming up soon, which is every year held on the Library Park, if I'm correct. I think it's the 17th this year.
It is. I just signed the permit. They're a little late getting their paperwork in. They have a special hearing that the city council is going to do tomorrow, and I guess they'll approve the permit so they can, get the construction of the stage. It's a pretty elaborate stage that they do, and they set that up, and it should be hopefully the weather continues and they have a great Saturday for it. But it's always a nice time. There's a good crowd and good music. So if anybody's looking for something to do when we get back to school, it's a great take, and it's for a great cause and a great group of people run it. So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I saw they were on the agenda for the permit, and I got a little nervous about the date. But I'm sure it's a procedural thing, and since they've been doing this,
it is procedural. It'll be taken care of tomorrow night.
Right. I also wanted to mention to you, I know that the latest PFAS test came up a little bit over state guidelines, not tremendously, but a little bit. And I know that there's a notice on the site, but I thought it'd be helpful to remind people of the water filling station and other things we have going on to help mitigate the
concern. The PFAS levels tested at 20.6, which is, it's over. It's a slight tick over the 20 parts per trillion that the Mass DEP sets as its maximum. They call it the MCL maximum contaminant level, which is, again, it's even it's higher than we'd like. We've been testing, lower. You want to be under that 20, and we're committed to getting substantially under 20 with the construction of the new treatment plant, which again we're looking at probably 24 months out. We're in the design phase right now, and we're hoping, if all goes well, construction starts in late spring, and then we've got a period from there where it's I think about 18 months before it's fully completed. And so we're sending out notices again to remind those people who are in sensitive subcategories. Again, if you're immunocompromised, if you're pregnant, or if you've got an infant in the house under 1, anything over 20, the DEP recommends that anything over 20 parts per trillion, they recommend those people do not drink the water. So we've set up a couple different programs. One for them and anybody who wants to get their water up at the senior center, that's free to all residents, regardless of whether you're in a sensitive subgroup or not. And then we also have a water rebate program, and the instructions are pretty clear on the website, but the next, we had the first run around there that was last year, Samantha, where we were issuing rebates for those periods we were out of compliance. The first 6 months of this calendar year, our results were well under the 20, or under the 20. So there are no rebates for the first 6 months. We'll be starting the new program, which begins for the months July through December. So we want residents to keep an eye on the test results, and then the program will open up again in 2023, and we'll be giving out rebates to those in sensitive subgroups who provide the information to get the rebate, which was a very successful program, and it ran very smoothly. So we just tell people to keep an eye on the website, call my office with questions, and we'll make sure they understand it completely. But we're moving forward, and it's I understand the sensitivity of the nature and the importance of having good, clean water. So we're working to get to that point.
Because it's going to take so long for construction, I know this was just slightly over, so it's over, but really little. Is there a threshold by which we would use the reverse 911 phone service to notify people if it gets at a particular point?
I think we could. That's not out of the question. Sometimes those the reverse 911, and I don't. We've had different varying degrees of luck. Sometimes people get annoyed with the calls. And I'm not saying that we've ruled it out. I think that we've been really good at getting the results on the website as soon in the test. Look at the test. We do the test say in the first week of the month, and then it takes 7 days for the results to get back. So it's not a perfect system. We understand that. As soon as we get the results back, we put them on the website. And I know some people don't like to go on the website. Some people don't have the ability, but we'll look at the reverse 911. Just sometimes that if it's overused, and Matt might tell you if it gets overused, sometimes people get annoyed by it. But we'll certainly look into that as an option, Samantha. It's a good suggestion.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And, speaking of annoyances, I know there's a number of Woburn commuters that are struggling right now. Orange Line is shut down, which means there's more cars on the road, and some of our bus routes were shrank a little bit. I know we as a community were pretty vocal about keeping those bus routes, which they haven't disappeared altogether, which is good news. Is there anything else that for those residents through this period when the Orange Line is shut down, extra, if they're looking for people to ride with, if there's other accommodations, is there any advice you might give them about how to look out for each other?
Again, maybe some of the social media sites, if they haven't already, I don't follow all of them, Samantha, but maybe some of them are a good place to start with, different carpool arrangements that they might be able to work out, or different arrangements. But as far as the transportation, that it's really the train is the option, and unfortunately that's what it is right now, and it's gotten a little bit difficult.
Yeah. So, and I guess the last thing on my list to run by you is we have early voting for primaries that's happening right now. I know there's lots of information about things on the website and such. I just wanted to mention that for people to be aware of.
Yeah, it's all week. It started Saturday, and they had, mixed turnouts, of course. Right now it's not as many people around. Last week as some, they're trying to enjoy the time before school starts. But it'll pick up a little. I think that it'll probably not be a super turnout for early voting. But again, the more options we provide for the voters, the better it is to get a good turnout. So, the clerk's office is working hard at it, and the voting tracks our regular city hall hours, but it's up at the Wyman School, the old Wyman. So, people, if they want to vote, it's at the old Wyman School. Tracking regular city hall hours.
Great, thank you. Anything else you wanted to mention before I let you go?
No, just that we're sending out notifications on the PFAS, and I appreciate any input from residents if they do want to call and have any questions on the water or what to be looking for. Feel free to call my office or the water department, and we'll continue to send out notifications. We do have a meeting scheduled with the city council for an update, their first meeting in October, which I think is October 4th at the city council meeting. So we'll keep moving ahead, and it's a process, and we'll get to the end point soon.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Next up, we have Rich Mahoney. He's going to talk to us about fall fireworks, which we're all looking forward to. Welcome, Rich.
Thanks for having me, Samantha.
I'm really impressed with your background. I think you are officially the first person on Today in Woburn who has a special background for us. I might be wrong about it, but I think so. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we know that we have moved the fireworks. We used to be on Flag Day, and they are going to be in the fall this year. Remind us when they're going to be and what else is happening that day.
They're going to be on October 1st, Saturday. And because they're now in the fall, it gets darker earlier. So they'll be at 8 o'clock as opposed to when we typically had them on Flag Day. They were usually waiting around until 10 o'clock. So we think that's a little bit easier on people with younger children. So.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Although my kids used to love having the excuse to stay up late.
Yeah.
So, that's great. Now, in the past, there's been live music and some other things that are happening. Will we be having any of those things as well?
Yeah, last year was the inaugural year. because we had to move it to the fall because of the pandemic, it's like the perfect storm happened, and we had to kind of pivot and move in a different direction. And the feedback we got from what we did last year, we got rave reviews. So we kind of kept the same model, and we added a few bells and whistles. So it'll be we have things for adults as well as kids. For the adults, where we kept the music, we have Funhouse and Site 39 with I'm promised a couple special guests, but we'll see who shows up. There may be a couple other bands as well, but those are the ones that we have listed so far. We have the same beer tent coming. We're going to look in and see if we can add to that, but it'll be at least what we had last year. We have some food trucks coming as well. The caterer who caters our meetings on Tuesday night, he was there last year. He did hot dogs and hamburgers, and the big hit was the nacho Doritos, which was basically nacho meat poured into a Dorito bag. And
hey, that sounds mighty tasty. I think I've got a couple people in my house who might want to do that.
It was a big hit. He was running low on food, and that's what he came up with, and I ran with it. And then for the kids, we're going to have last year we had the mini golf and the blow up bowling ball and pins on the basketball and pickleboard courts. We're also going to have the face painting. I think we might add a second face painter because that was the longest line, I believe, last year. Also temporary tattoos.
Fun. Those are super fun.
Yeah. So I think it'll be enough to entertain everybody and keep everybody fed.
And I have to tell you, until the last couple of years, I, in my head, always thought it was a city-sponsored event, and it's not. And there is money it costs to run this for us as a community. We don't charge people to participate. Obviously, you buy your own food and things, but all the, the fireworks and everything is available for free to residents. I know you're doing a fundraiser. Tell us about that and how residents can contribute.
Sure. Well, with Scott still on here, I have to give him some credit. He does donate to us, and we typically split the fireworks. But if he wants to step up and pay more, he's more than welcome to. We never say no to Scott. But we have a raffle usually around Valentine's Day that it's a $100 raffle. Pre-COVID, it used to get a dinner out of it as well, but we haven't gone back to that model. I think there's a push to go back this year. So that's a good fundraiser, but we decided to do something similar. And that one, we only sell 200 tickets. This one, we're going to be selling 250 tickets. The raffle is going to be drawn at the Fall Fireworks Festival. And the winner grand prize will be $10,000, second prize of $2,000, and the third prize of $1,000 cash. And the balance will go to help us offset the cost. It does cost us probably a little over $15,000 all said and done. So this will help towards that. The money that Scott gives us helps towards that. We fundraise all through the year. Christmas tree sales up in North Woburn, that usually starts right after Thanksgiving. We have a golf tournament, and like I had mentioned, the other raffle. But anything that people are willing to give. If they have a business and want to sponsor, we have some other signs that we sell. And so
I love it. Where can people buy their raffle tickets?
There are a couple different locations. Mike Rice and Mark Salvardi have them, and I can get you their phone numbers or some contacts.
Perfect. Lauren, make sure to put that on the screen for us.
Yep. And my office is at 7 Wynn Street, and I'll include my phone number. People can swing by. I'll have a stack of them as well. Or our Facebook page, we try to monitor that. If somebody just puts in a request, we'll be happy to get back to them.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for all the hard work that goes into a festival like that. We know it's not easy. And I know I'm looking forward to some cooler fall nights and some fun.
Yep. Excellent. Thanks for having us.
Great. Steve, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you're a longtime face here in Woburn Public Schools, but new to the role as the high school's principal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I began my career in Woburn in 03 and started off in the classroom, English teacher, and for 15 years. And then I coached football with Rocky Nelson for 15 years and assistant principal for the last 4. And now I'm stepping into this new role. I've already stepped into it, but the doors open on the 8th, so I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. Maybe I should have said I'm sorry instead of congratulations. I'm not sure which, but we're really thrilled that you're there. I know it's this is a very hectic time as you're getting ready to go back to school. So I really appreciate you and Matt, who will be joining us later, being on and taking some time to catch us on up all things. Sure. Freshman orientation was recently. How did that go? I
thought it went very well. I think at the end of the day, we serviced approximately 200 students. Started off with a presentation in the auditorium. The students received their schedules. If they did not receive their schedule in the mail, we had hard copies ready to hand out to them. They received a swag bag. It had a book bag and a water bottle to show our appreciation for them, making the effort. Unfortunately, we could not provide buses, so a lot of them either walked or, rode their bikes. They got dropped off. So that meant a lot. And then they took tours of the building. They received their Chromebooks, so they're ready to go on the 8th. And then there is another orientation on the 1st, actually, from 10 to 11:15 for those students who could not attend because they were on vacation, out of town, had fall sports tryouts. So we're offering another one this week for those students who could not attend last week's orientation.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm not sure if it was freshman orientation or when they did the 8th grade tour, but I remember the t-shirts my kids got with their, sort of their class and their year on it. And I remember how ridiculously big they were when they first got them. And then amazingly, 4 years later, they all grow into it.
They grow into them, yeah.
Right. That's fantastic. I also knew, so my kids haven't been in the high school for a number of years now. The last of mine who went is now a senior in college. And I know the school has been through a whole bunch of new stuff, new curriculum, new programs, all kinds of great things. Tell us about some of the new stuff that's either coming this year or has been in place for the last year or two.
No, sure. I mean, I'm not sure how much time I have, but I'll talk about the 3 that came to mind immediately. One is our Innovation Pathways program. Kim Gustenhoven, who was our science curriculum coordinator. She brought this into Woburn High School, I believe, 3 years ago. So we're going on our 3rd year. And pretty much it's designed to give students an opportunity to do coursework and experience opportunities in the school that will lead them to potential high demand jobs outside of school. So for instance, they could take a manufacturing course. They can take a biotechnology course. So it's also a way for students to, meet employers and get themselves prepared for life after high school. But it starts with offering those options when they're in school so that when they do apply for those jobs, they have a little bit of a better foundation going into them. So that's one, is Innovation Pathways. And Mrs. Gustenhoven's done a great job with that. The second program I would say is our BRIGHT program, which stands for Bridge for Resilient Youth. Erin Merrill and Nicole Garrigan run the BRIGHT program, and it's supports students academically and emotionally who are coming back from prolonged hospitalizations or concussions. So instead of transitioning students back into the classroom immediately after they are provided their paperwork and come back to school, we try to provide them an opportunity for them to kind of ease their way into the classroom. And so they can go to BRIGHT. In BRIGHT, they provide academic tracking. They provide attendance tracking. They also meet with parents. They have a strong communication network with teachers. And so, and then at the end of the day, when they feel comfortable, then they transition back into, their 7-period day. And they can still go back to BRIGHT for studies and things like that. So that is a program that I know a lot of students have had success with. It's a program that I feel benefits the student as well as the parents, because the parents send their children back to school and they hope that that transition, especially that first day, goes well. And so BRIGHT provides that opportunity for that first day, first week, 6 weeks, until they feel comfortable enough to to go back into their regular routine.
I think that's a great program. My youngest was not in high school at the time. They were in middle school, but they had a pretty bad concussion. And it was a tough transition going back to school. They couldn't really do full days, but going in and out of the normal classes is a wonderful opportunity. And I know concussion isn't the only reason somebody might be in there, but that's a wonderful addition. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And then the last one, I would say our PEAK program, and PEAK came about 3 years ago. It was formerly HE, High Expectations, and AE, Alternative Ed, and then the program merged to form PEAK. So it's our therapeutic program, but we also service students who are not recommended for a therapeutic placement. Students who may have self-regulation challenges, students who may be struggling, may not be on target to graduate. So there is a component in which they can build back, earn credit, so they can graduate on time with their peers. Kelly Curran and Leanne Carbone. Kelly Curran is the director, Leanne Carbone is a social worker. And they also have a staff of content teachers as well as special ed teachers. And so it's really a program that provides for all, and a program in which relationship building and communication and accountability is kind of at the forefront of what they do. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the roles they play in the kids' lives, because some of the students would not make it through Woburn High School without that program and without those relationships. So I would say those are probably the three programs or advancements in the last couple of years. There are definitely others, but those are the three that I think, came to mind immediately.
Oh, that's fantastic. What incredible, wonderful experiences we're building for students. I love that.
Yep.
One thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, and Matt is free to jump in on this as well when we talk about more broad school, but specifically in the high school. There was a lot of coverage around incidents with a bullying incident at the football team. It's a criminal case. I don't want you to talk about it. Minors are involved. I don't want you to bring it up. I bring it up only in that I know that we, as a result of that, and just looking carefully as we do every year, there are maybe some changes or some new education that's happening across the team. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about things to help make sure all students who are coming into the high school are going to feel safe and they know where to get help if they need it. And just, again, not talk about the case, but talk about any changes we might be making and to make students feel comfortable and guided.
Sure. So some changes that have already been made. We have adopted a student athlete handbook, excuse me. So before the students can practice, essentially, or before the coaches can coach, they need to read through the handbook, sign off on it. A lot of the things in the handbook mirrors the MIAA guidelines. So right now we are in compliance with the MIAA. And so a lot of the points of emphasis in that handbook are bullying, cyberbullying, harassment. And so, that was the first thing. We adopted that handbook, and now that has gone into effect, before fall sports started. We also had a PD about a week ago, which just more so emphasized everything that—
Just for those who aren't familiar, you mean professional development?
I'm sorry, yes, professional development. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes. About a week ago, all the fall coaches were in attendance. And then the rationale behind that is that we just wanted to make sure that before we go into the fall, that the coaches understand locker room supervision, locker room communication, proper ways to communicate. They are all mandated reporters. So I just want to make sure that going into the fall that everyone is on the same page. And I do want to say that, the student athlete handbook, everything that we are putting into place for the fall is for the benefit of all the fall sports programs, right? Not just the football programs. We want to make sure every fall athlete and every coach is on the same page. All the communication is the same, so that students can stay on the field, parents feel as though they're being supported, and coaches feel as though they're being supported too, because they know that they have now, a handbook that they can follow that completely outlines what they can do, what is appropriate and how to react. And so, those are two things that have gone in immediately. A few other measures we are putting into place is that myself and Ms. Duran, we are looking to hire two kind of after school supervisors. Those staff and we're hoping that they are high school staff. Those staff will be responsible for between 2 and 2:30, making sure that hallways are clear, making sure that students are not congregating in areas they shouldn't be, that all the students make their way onto the late bus. So I think that having 2 staff members, after school, that also, it forces students to, be where they need to be. and be present and always be supervised, which is what we want from 7:30 to 1:50, every day. Now it just adds another layer for after school. So those are kind of 3 areas that we've made adjustments to, and we think that they're going to help to benefit the students in the fall.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for people to hear all the positive things that are happening. So I really appreciate that. A couple other quick things before I let you go. I know that you have been in the school system for a long time, and you shared a little bit of your history. In this role, what do you see as sort of your biggest priorities in terms of addressing areas of need in the organization that you're excited to tackle?
Well, first and foremost is safety. I think right now safety is my #1 priority. Safety and supervision. When students walk in the building on the 8th at 7:30. I want them to feel comfortable. When they transition from classroom to classroom, I want them to feel comfortable. When they're in the bathroom, I want them to feel comfortable. When they exit the building and, make their way onto the bus or, walk home, I want them to feel as though, they were able to get the most out of their 7-period school day experience without any distractions. I think that's important. I think that's a part of education the students are able to access the curriculum and not feel as though they are being there's any distractions around what they are there to do, which is to, learn, build relationship with teachers, socialize, have fun. At the end of the day, school should be fun. And I want to make sure that when they walk in the building, we provide all those things. And it starts with safety. Students have to, and parents, need to know when they drop their children off that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we provide them what they want. And that's, that they leave the building at the end of the day in a better place than when they came in. So that's my goal.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to invite Matt to join the conversation. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Before we dive into, I have so many questions that I'm eager to ask you, Matt. But before I do that, is there anything else that you wanted to add in terms of school safety or any of the changes that were made? Because, Steve was talking a lot about happening at the high school, but these are obviously things that we care about across our school system. Is there anything that carried through into the other buildings?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that we have ongoing dialogue with the Woburn Police Department, and in partnership with the Woburn Police and Mayor Scott Galvin, we have hired a consultant to look at school security throughout all of our buildings. And we're just, we're beginning that process now. And again, I think that Mr. Martin said it right. Like, we want everyone to feel comfortable and secure when they come to school and go home feeling better about themselves than they did when they entered. And so, over the past couple of years, I would say that school safety has changed from 6 feet apart to, during COVID to now, again, as we come back to a quote new normal, looking at ways that we can make sure that schools are secure and safe. I think that the tragedy in Uvalde, really recast the focus here. And I'm grateful that the city of Woburn is taking it so seriously.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And, I recently attended a program at the Woburn Public Library, not through the schools, but through the public library. It was called Be Smart. And really the program is all about gun safety. So it's not a political thing about whether you have guns or not. It's just in the world where they exist, how do we keep families and children and others safe from self-harm, from accidents? And it's, a lot about safe storage. And I know that some other school systems in Massachusetts have participated in that program and used any of that. I don't know if you've ever even heard of it, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm curious if that's something you are familiar with, and if not, it's something that we can introduce to you.
Yeah, so candidly, it's not something that I have great familiarity with. However, I'm absolutely willing to learn more about it. And I know that the event was at the library. It actually coincided with an event in Burlington. We have a partnership with Tufts Medical Center and the Burlington Public Schools. We were providing physicals to students that night. And so, again, we'll do anything we can to keep people safe and healthy. And so, open to learning more about it, and, you know, happy to keep an open mind.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll share some. I'll share that feedback with some of the folks who are more familiar with the curriculum than I am, and such. That's great. Now, one of the questions that I have gotten a lot of is teacher assignments and school supplies. Right now, I know a lot of those communications have gone out, but some people haven't seen those communications, or maybe they're not listed correctly in the database and things. This is particularly true for people who are entering a new school for the first time. So sixth graders, kindergartners, freshmen in high school. Where can families and students go to get that information if they don't already know where it is?
So I would guide people to our website quite a bit if they have any questions, and contact the school directly. Mr. Martin could speak to the school supply issue. One of the things that I did want to mention, and I'll mention it now, is that we're transitioning student information software. And it seems like a simple, or should be easy. Really what we're doing is taking the database that we've used for over 20 years in Woburn and transitioning to a new database. And so that has been an immense task. Mr. Martin was in a training all day today, I know. And there is a process. And so information has gone out from each school to, I believe from each school to the families at this point, as it relates to class lists and to schedules. Mr. Martin alluded to ninth graders, some ninth graders that we might not have current, didn't receive a schedule. So we'll do hard copies. I know the middle schools are going to do the same thing. But again, we ask for some patience as we transition from one student software management system to another. But the principals at every school are ready, willing, and able to answer any question as it relates to feeling prepared for the first few days of school.
That's great. Steve, if I could have you just re-enter with us. Unlike elementary school, which has, there's a very specific set of things that you bring into an elementary classroom. The high school classrooms tend to be a little bit less structured, but certain classes do require certain types of supplies. Is there just students and families just wait till they start school and get that guidance, or are there some basics that every student should walk in with?
Yeah, that's been the email I've received the most as well. So the first thing they should bring is start off with the Chromebook. Like that it's not that we've gone to technology and gone to Chromebooks devices. Each student will now have one. If they do not have it, the first day of school, we're going to be distributing them out of the library. So they'll definitely have it by Friday. And a lot of teachers, and I've sent this correspondence out, but parents still, parents like to know, what do my kids need? I would say the basics. Because
we're trying to get the sales.
Yeah, well, that too. I don't blame them at all. I would want to know too. Basics to start off: a binder, some folders, pens, pencils, a few highlighters. The teachers will notify the students, day one when they go over their syllabus. If the students are really ambitious, when they have their schedule, they can always reach out to the teachers themselves. First initial, last name, at woburnps.com. I'm not recommending that they do that, but they can. They have the option, especially those that have their schedules. So that's what I would recommend going forward. If the parents can hold off until the 8th, that'll be ideal. But basics to start the school year is really all they need.
That's great. Thank you for reassuring us. My 21-year-old just went back to college, and I was like, I was twitching because they wouldn't let me get them notebooks and folders or anything. And they kept assuring me that, first of all, it's almost all electronic, Mom. And secondly, there's a bookstore on campus. but I sympathize with the families who are eagerly trying to make sure that their kids are fully prepared. So thank you for that good guidance. I think similar guidance perhaps for middle school, right, Matt? Simply call the principal if you are concerned, but generally if students come with the notebook and some pen and their Chromebooks, they're good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take care of all kids when they walk in. And, you know, for those that don't have anything, we know that may be the case, and we have supplies ready for everybody. So we want to make sure everyone feels supported the first few days of school. Now,
the most frequent question I got from students, not parents, but students who reached out was, these Chromebooks are really kind of cool, but does that mean that I'm not going to get any more snow days? Does that mean I'm going to have to work remotely? So do we have a position on that you can share?
Yeah, I do have it's not my position. But the quick answer is we will have traditional snow days if we have traditional snow days. Remote learning is not an option from the state. So again, we pivoted over the past couple of years, and I understand that. However, this year, if we have a snow day, and it doesn't feel like today that we would, but they're coming. If we do have a snow day, it would be a traditional snow day.
Okay, great. We were talking a lot about taking care of students. You mentioned that when we talked about school supplies. And I know there's also a great Tanner Closet that helps students and families who might need things that they are not able to get in another way. There was some fundraisers and lots of donations there. So that's also a resource that students can tap into. We also have free lunch again in the state of Massachusetts, if I understand that correctly. Tell us a little bit about what that means for families. And, you know, I know one of the concerns that was raised in the past was what food was being distributed through the free lunch program. And I don't know if we've made any changes, but wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that.
So just as a clarification, and it's a good clarification, I think, is that we're able to provide breakfast and lunch. And so we want all students to feel supported. And we're lucky this year, as like last year, where we're able to do it for free. And so kids certainly can still bring their own lunch to school. You know, many students do that. But this does make it nice so that we know that all kids have access to nutritional foods. That said, there are guidelines that the school department, the food service have to follow. So, you know, part of making things nutritious sometimes doesn't make things delicious, right? So my kids, you know, you want peas or carrots? So they, you know, they would, that was the choice. So, you know, we do want to, I do actually, Lisa Tamayan does a great job running the food service department in the high school. And so I want to give her a shout out. Her team has worked tirelessly throughout for the past few years and tirelessly throughout COVID. And so thank you to the food service department and all the people that work in the cafeterias. And I do know that particularly at the high school, I think there was some effort to diversify ethnically some of the offerings, but I can't speak specifically to that. Maybe I'll be able to do that if I come back on in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely catch up about that. I think that's great. And look, it is hard to feed hundreds of people, and not only feed hundreds of people, but feed hundreds of people on a budget. And by the way, do it in like 15 minutes, right? Groups of people coming through. I'm going to eat, I'm going to get to, you know, it's not a lot of time and there's a lot of constraints. So they do work really hard on that. I appreciate that update. You mentioned diversity. So I want to talk a little bit about it in a totally different context than breakfast and lunch. But I know that the city has been working hard on its diversity and inclusion vision. And like many people across, not just Massachusetts, but the country, want to make sure that all of our students are excelling. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the work that's being done there?
Sure. I'm happy to start, and then Mr. Martin can hopefully assist. So as a district, we work, we have a couple different initiatives ongoing. One of which is we work with the SEAM Collaborative with a DEI coach who's going actually to work with our administrative team on Wednesday at a retreat on some identity work. She's also going to come in to our schools and do walkthroughs this year around DEI work. The superintendent network that I'm part of also has a diversity initiative that the leadership team will tap into. As a leadership team, we've also read Unconscious Bias in Schools. Dr. Sarah Fireman from Harvard wrote that book, and we are actually going to work directly with her this year with the SEED Foundation, which is Seeking Equity, Educational Equity and Diversity. So we have, I believe, 10 sessions scheduled with Dr. Fireman around this work. And so really trying to make sure that we are, as a leadership group, comfortable having these types of conversations. Sometimes they're not comfortable, and I think we need to get better at having uncomfortable conversations at times. You know, I think our kids are more diverse than our staff, and so helping our staff to understand what it might feel like to not be a majority, I think is an important part in this process. I know at the high school last year, I did have the opportunity, I spoke with the Embrace Club, which is a club that Mr. Martin helped to start. But their feedback was quite powerful. They asked us to look at curriculum. So we're doing that as well, to look at, to make sure that we are providing curriculum that's representative of our student body, not just, you know, things that were purchased years ago. And so it's really trying to be mindful and comprehensive in the process, but also understanding that in my mind's eye, this is work that's never really done. You know, we're laying groundwork that we need to kind of keep getting better at. And I think that, you know, it's definitely an area that's prominent, not just in Woburn, but throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the United States. And so very, very important work. And I don't know if Mr. Martin, you want to add anything, but
no, not really, Matt. I think you hit it right on the head. I think that, you know, over the last couple of years, I know that, you know, Mrs. Gillis, who was the former English curriculum coordinator, who is now an assistant principal at the high school, I know that she was working on equity audits. I know in the English department, and I know there have been other audits in other departments as well. But like Mr. Crowley said, I think one of the things we have to do is to, you know, survey the students. We have to identify, you know, what they feel is missing. I know that there are different, you know, we try to represent, you know, all ethnicities and all backgrounds. But, you know, the student voice, I think, is powerful and they will be heard if you give them the opportunity. that much I know. And they articulate their words really well. And I think they were spot on when they had made recommendations, you know, to look at, especially, you know, some of the novels that, you know, they read freshman year, and then the same theme was consistent all 3 years. And so now, which isn't, in my opinion, culturally responsible. And so I know that we are doing a good job, but, you know, we can always do more. But I know that we have the right the vision, in place to go forward and making sure that, you know, our students are receiving the best proper education, diverse education, you know, when they're students at Woburn Public Schools. So.
I love that. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of the Embrace students present at various things, most recently probably at Juneteenth celebration, and they're quite an impressive group of people who are articulate and thoughtful about their needs in the community.
Mr. Martin, along these same lines, I don't know if I'm forgive me, Samantha, I'm going to ask him a question, if that's okay.
Please do. I like community interviews. This is awesome.
No, I'm just thinking it might be an opportunity to talk about restorative circles at the high school.
No, absolutely, Matt. It's a good idea. So over the summer, Mrs. Patrici, Mrs. Gillis, and I took a 10-hour PD on restorative justice / circles. I would actually prefer the term circles. so moving forward, and the reason why I looked into this, and I'm kind of very passionate about this, is because I feel that during COVID, people got away from having conversations. You know, a lot of conversations were through computer screens or through text or through, podcasts, whatever the case may be. And because of that, we saw a lot of issues at the high school, like, bullying and maybe harassment, that I think really could have been settled if there were conversations before, especially if it was racially motivated, if there were conversations with people prior to the incident, just getting everyone in the same room. It's almost like a pre-intervention before something happens. I feel like we always intervene, or the interventions always come in after the incident. Which is, so now it's, my goal is to be a little more proactive. And so the restorative circle kind of idea, model is, and it can really be used as a communication tool. It can be used in a lot of different layers. It's kind of multi-tiered. We're going to roll it out in advisory. So every week on Fridays, we have advisory, and over the last few years, advisory has been used to, push out information, which is great. But now we're going to kind of get back to what advisory was really implemented for, which is community building, relationship building, rapport between teachers. So students have a staff member who they know they can go to every Friday that they have trust in. And they have a peer group that they have trust in, because they meet every Friday, and the topics are going to be, they're going to revolve around community building and rapport. And I think that we're going to roll it out in advisory, but it's also a way in which, to be a little more proactive and show students that, we are listening to them, we do hear them, and that, every student needs kind of a champion in their life. And in most districts, that advisory, that champion can be that teacher if it's done the right way and rolled out the right way, which is what we plan on doing starting the first week of school, or the first Friday after the 8th. So that's a little bit about our restorative piece, but I am implementing that this year, and I'm excited about it.
Great. Matt, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that. I think conversations are hard to have, and on lots of different topics. And the more we practice that in safe environments where people feel guided and comfortable with each other, the better we are as a community overall. Matt, I wanted to ask you, the MAD scramble is now in place for us to be entering school. I know there are some unfilled positions on our staff across the school district. What concerns do you have about that? Is there anything we as a community do to help close those gaps?
So the quick answer is we've hired, I think, over 35 new teachers. We had new teacher orientation today and tomorrow. And we have some paraprofessionals joining us tomorrow, again, for the new teacher and new staff orientation. We do have some vacancies, paraprofessional vacancies. If anyone is interested or listening, they could just go on to our website, woburnpublicschools.com, and you can apply through our website, or call the school department and ask to speak to Ms. Boyajian, who is the Director of Human Resources. Leave your name and number. We will call you back. But we also have a depth of daily substitutes. So we were actually fortunate last year to enhance the number of people we have available as substitutes. So, we're going to open schools. I know that, this isn't a Woburn problem, really. It's our problem because we're Woburn. I actually feel like we're in a really good spot as compared to many places who, not just in Massachusetts, but around the United States, that are really struggling to attract teachers. So, it's been a very challenging couple of years. And so I think people are reconsidering why they're doing some of the work that they're doing. And so I feel fortunate, though, to be in Woburn, where the majority of our staff are coming back, and we're really looking forward to welcoming them on the 6th.
That's great. I think, but please correct me if I'm wrong, because my data is a few days old. The teacher contracts are not yet signed, but the current contract has not expired yet, or has it? Do you have any concerns about that distracting from school opening?
No, I don't have any concerns about that distracting from school opening. We have a great relationship with the WTA. We've been bargaining collaboratively with the WTA over the past few months. And Ms. Locke, the president of the WTA, has been a great partner. And so I think we should open up schools, you know, in a good spot.
I know there's a lot of work left to do before school opens, but we're also now where a lot of things are in place. What are you most excited about?
I'm excited about seeing kids in the building. You know, there's a lot of planning that goes into the school year behind the scenes. Everyone, you know, I almost feel like summer is a misnomer because we work all summer to make sure that we're ready for day one when kids arrive. And so, you know, I hope that everyone had a nice summer and got some rest. You know, I did, and you know, I know Mr. Martin tried to, but we do. You know, it's a lot of work that goes into getting schools up and running so that we're ready to go on day one. I will tell you that the bus routes are done; those are online. The kids are coming on September 8th. We have a student success series that we planned for this year. September 12th, we have Sarah Ward doing a presentation at 6:30 p.m. at Woburn Memorial High School about executive functioning and starting successfully in school. So there's a myriad of things that are happening. You know, we don't start slow. I mean, when the kids come, we have to be ready. You know, I know that there's always some hiccups as it relates to the first couple of days of school, but you know, we'll communicate with families and students, and they can communicate with us. And our facilities look great. Mr. Dunkley and the custodial facilities team always does a great job. Students are coming into buildings that are clean, classrooms that are put together and organized. And so I'm really just genuinely excited about starting this school year. You know, it's feeling better than than it has in the past couple of years, and so you know, it's a little bit our new normal, and so a little post COVID, and so to Mr. Martin's point, looking forward to the relationship building, community building, and ultimately the educational experience of all of our kids.
That's fantastic. Thank you both for joining me. It's been really great to chat about the schools and the exciting time that's ahead of us. And Woburn, as always, please continue to take good care of each other.